Good morning, everyone. Um, Good to see you today. What I want to do, just want to get some of my thoughts out that I've been actually thinking about. Sound is all good. So today's thought that I want to share with everyone is got to do with Jesus predicting his death. So in the predictions in the Gospels, he predicts his death. Okay, so that's where we're going to actually start. I just looked it up on Wikipedia, where we can actually start seeing that in three of the Gospels. Okay, in three of the Gospels, we've got Jesus actually predicting his own death. So I'm going to use a little bit of critical thinking here, because firstly, the death of the Messiah is not predicted in the Hebrew Bible. Okay, so let's start there as well. So it doesn't state anywhere. I'm not going to reference those. I'm going to just focus on the Gospels, and later on, during obviously deeper dives into the Messiah from the Hebrew Bible, we'll get into what those prophecies were on who the Messiah was going to be. Okay, so but for now, I just want to look at where Jesus predicts it, apply critical thinking, and then just use some logic to actually saying, was it so far-fetched for him to have predicted his own death? Okay, so if we look at it in Gospel of Mark, it says that Jesus predicted his death 3 times. It's recorded in Mark 8:31. In 9:30 to 32 and 10:32 to 34. Okay, they say the scholars noted in this gospel also contains verses where Jesus appears to predict his passion. Appears. So yeah, already that is a question. But anyway, I suggest that these represent the earlier traditions available to the author. Some scholars say, Walter, they suggest that there's a redaction formulation of the author through, though he states there are vexing questions relating to the saints. Okay, it just kind of says to me that they're not pretty sure, but let's just go to those scriptures. I want to do that quickly, so that we can see what the wording looks like. So where does he first say that? So let's just go to the Gateway Bible. We get there quickly, and then we can just look at those scriptures that was actually referenced and take it from there. Okay, what do we have here? We'll see this. Yes, let's just see it. So we're just going to go through to, where does he say? This is Mark 8:31 to 32. So we go to Mark 8 and 31 to 32. So I just want to say, then he began to teach them, saying that the Son of Man must suffer many things, be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, that he must be killed and after 3 days rise again. Okay. The 3 days that he rises again, he predicted, not sure where that comes from because there's no prophecy about that. But I just want to focus on the chief priests of the law, and as one area of focus of the rabbis or the priests of the law, because they're actually talking about the Hebrew laws that were handed down firstly from Mount Sinai, and then there was 613 that was added, or in total there's 613 laws that they adhere to. Okay, so that's the first one. If we just look at 9, I just want to go to these just so that we can see what language they actually use in, or what language he actually used. Okay, so 9, 31 and 32. If we go to 31 and 32, because he was teaching his disciples, again he's teaching the Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men, they will kill him. Okay, so it's related to his teachings, it's relating to the law, it's relating to where he is, who he is, and what is he teaching. So let's keep those in mind when we actually get to what my thoughts are on him predicting his own death, and was it so difficult for him to have done that. Okay, let's just go quickly. I want to just go to one more, and then I can get into just thinking about it logically and with some critical thinking. So if we go to Matthew, and in Matthew we've got Matthew 16, 21 to 28. Matthew 16, okay, 21 to 28. So from that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things in the hands of the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, that he must be killed on the 3rd day to be raised alive. Okay, so if we look again, it's the elders, again it's the teaching of the law, it's focusing on things that do carry the death sentence, or you can be killed for that. Okay, so let's just keep that in mind. So I'm just going to continue. So Peter took him aside and he rebuked him. Never, Lord, this shall never happen to you. Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan, you're a stumbling block for me. You do not have in mind concerns of God, but merely of human concerns." Okay, we can break that down in terms of Jesus knowing, because based on the writings around him, because there's no writings by him, but there's only writings of him. Okay, he was a pretty smart guy, and obviously he had the foundation of the Hebrew wisdom, the Torah, Tanakh wisdom. He grew up in that culture. He grew up with those teachings as well. Okay, so we go on to 24. Whoever wants to be my disciples must deny themselves, take up the cross and follow me. Okay, and just remember, all of this was written after the fact. This is years after the fact. This is not eyewitnesses. That for them to have remembered even what these words were is quite remarkable, in my opinion, because I think Matthew is written like 40 or 50 years after the actual event that took place. Okay, so for them to remember that he mentioned the cross, well, if you take on some of the logical thinking as well, we'll get to that on what were the death sentences that were passed during that time, during the time of being ruled by the Roman Empire. Okay, so for whoever wants to save their life must lose it, and whoever loses their life must find, for me, must find it. Okay, so taking all that into account, this is my thoughts. So my thoughts around, did Jesus know that he was going to die? So I pose this to you for some thought. Okay, Jesus knew that he was teaching, which was on subjects within the Hebrew laws that could get you killed, okay, for blasphemy, because he was taking some of the law, he was adding to it, he was bringing his own perspective, he was calling himself the Son of God, and he was relating himself to as God being his Father. So all of those. So if you think about it, if one of us had to go to his Islamic country, okay, and started talking against their faith, do you think you would survive that? Based on everything that we've seen, would you survive going up against any of the Islamic teachings and their laws if you attempted that? Okay, so it's the same principle. Yeah, you've got Jesus. He's not actually in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is where the temple is. So that's where the revelation is acted out, right to going to the temple. Okay, so he's on the outskirts now. He's going to go to Jerusalem, and he's going to start teaching. He's going to start speaking, and he's putting himself in a position where he is probably going to get killed, and he knows that. Okay, just based on what he's talking about. Okay, so fast forward to us now today. If you had to do it in a Muslim country, you would be killed. End of story. You don't even have to be a prophet. You just have to use common sense. Okay. The second thing is, during the Roman rule, they would suppress any uprising that was that was a person was causing, that was going against the rule of law during that time. Okay, so Jesus knew that this would also bring attention from the Romans as well, because now he's got followers, and it's going to cause an uprising. It's going to go against the mainstream belief system of what the Jewish elders were teaching and expecting and preaching. So yeah, you've got two overarching authorities that would see this as a problem. So for Jesus to be sitting back and predicting that he's going to be killed, that he's going to die, is not a prophecy. It's just common sense. It's common sense based on even using today's examples. If you had to take, just going back to who are the people that have been trying to suppress, Tommy Robinson is probably the most famous if you from Europe or the UK, where he's going against the government that's ruling the UK at the moment. They want to keep certain things controlled, and he's going against that. And what do? They take him, they throw him in jail. Okay, now if you go back 2,000 years, the Roman Empire would have actually taken someone that was going to cause an uprising and actually use that as an example as well. And they had the most cruel execution being crucifixion during that time. So if you were causing an uprising, you would get the full sentence of what the law would be then, which would be the death sentence, and there would be a death sentence on a cross. Okay, so just using common sense, critical thinking, and just looking at the whole scenario and what Jesus was doing, what he was preaching, all of that, he was putting himself in a position to be killed by two groups. So in my opinion, it wasn't a prophecy, because if it was a real prophecy, that prophecy would come from the Old Testament or from the Tanakh. Okay, it would come from the Hebrew Bible to actually say this is what would actually have to happen to the Messiah that actually comes. So that's my view, that it's not rocket science. He could have predicted it. He was a smart man. He had a lot of wisdom. He found that wisdom obviously where he was brought up, what he grew up in as well, and he had some good thinking, because they managed to record some of it. He never actually wrote it down himself, but in my opinion, Jesus was just stating the obvious. So yeah, I hope you guys can sit and meditate on that, make some sense of it. So just like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we can have a discussion on this. If you comment on it, then I will respond to that. Okay, have a good day. Cheers.